Hello everybody, just want to do a quick blog post today to talk a little bit about something that pains me quite a lot at the moment, and that is the Birmingham City women's side that are very much in the news at the moment. I am a Birmingham supporter. I am a supporter of the women's side. I'm a massive advocate for the women's game. And yeah, I've photoed them a couple of times this season as well, and probably will be a lot in the future, all being well with the agency that I shoot with. So yeah, let me kind of run you through a few things. I've got some articles here, so I'll be reading from those and then giving you my opinion at the end. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. So the Blues women's team have an excellent history in the game over the last sort of decade or so. They were founder members of the Women's Super League in 2011. They were runners-up in the first season and qualified for Europe. They were winners of the Women's FA Cup in 2012. Narrowly missed out on being league champions in 2014 and were cup finalists again in 2017. As recently as the 2018-2019 season, the team was still very competitive, finishing fourth in the league and boasting several international players, including the England centre forward Ellen White. They've been a great source of pride to the club. They've done equally, if not surpassed, the achievements of the men's side over the last decade, and are a club steeped in history. So what's going on at the club? Let me take you back to the scenario last summer before the season started. So Carla Ward came in as manager for the start of the 2021 season. And at her time of appointment, she had just 8 players on the books, and we were written off by absolutely everybody in the game. We'd be foot of the table, we'd barely get any points, we'd be down long before the end of the season, we were no hopers. And up until probably just after Christmas, we were in quite a safe mid-table position. Albeit because there's one relegation spot in the Women's Super League. So you had Bristol City there, and they hadn't won a game all season. And West Ham were down there struggling as well. But West Ham sacked their manager, Matt Beard, who then went to Bristol. And since then, they've had a revival. West Ham have had a revival under the new manager. And all of a sudden, us and Aston Villa are in quite a bit of trouble with those two in a relegation fold that really could go either way at this point in time. So Carla Ward has done wonders considering she had 8 players on the books when she took over. So what's going on at the moment? Where are we now? Basically, over the weekend, it came out that Birmingham City Women sent a formal letter of complaint to the club over working conditions that prevent them from doing their jobs, with lack of players, budget and facilities amid their concerns. Now, my understanding is the letter was issued because they have made several requests to meet with the board to discuss these problems. Having not had these requests granted, or from my understanding in some cases even acknowledged or responded to, they felt they had no other choice but to write a formal letter to the club outlaying their concerns. The Telegraph paper then saw these concerns and felt obliged to report on them. So, I'm reading an article here from the Daily Mail. The players listed their concerns in a letter, which included travel provisions, access and changing facilities and gyms, and their budget, which was having a negative effect on the size of their matchday squad. Sources inside the club told the Telegraph that players had previously asked to meet the board to discuss these issues but had requests denied. It's no secret we have one of the lowest budgets in the league, a club insider has said. COVID has only compounded this. This certainly makes it difficult to compete, but we're doing our best on and off the pitch in what is a very difficult time for professional footballers. Okay, I get that. You know, the women's game isn't as big as the men's game, and a lot of the revenue comes from the gates. So when you've not been able to have the gates, your budget's going to be affected. I get that. The players have also been left disgruntled with their matchday preparations, having to travel to home and away games on the actual day of the game and not being able to stay in hotels overnight. Okay, the home games, I mean, it's not ideal. I think most of the big men's side now, they have a camp in a local hotel overnight, but okay, you've got to travel into your home games on the same day. That's not the biggest thing, although recently we've had issues at Damson Park, so we've had 2 or 3 games at St George's in Burton, and they've got a hotel on site, so you'd like to think ideally the campers up there for those games. Away games, I mean, yeah, it's not ideal. It's kind of a given that on away days, outside of the region, you should be in a hotel the night before. This says we've only stayed in a hotel once this season, which was before the game last Sunday against Chelsea. That was at 12:30. The club responded to this specific complaint saying, "We are lucky to be based in the middle of the country where we can easily make journeys to our games without the need to stay overnight, while still being able to prepare our team in the best way possible to compete." Okay, I'd accept that argument for maybe the games in Manchester or the games in London, as long as they're not early kickoffs. But you have also got a league that's got Brighton and Hove Albion in it. It's got Bristol in it. And other teams that may be a bit further afield to get to. So I don't think that's an entirely fair comment. Players also raised concerns over the injury treatment facilities. A photograph obtained by the Telegraph shows their alleged treatment room located in a small temporary portable building at the club's training ground in West Hills. The club's budget is tight, as aforementioned by the spokesperson, and only 3 of the current squad are under contract for next season. The squad are concerned that Birmingham are not going to be fully committed to funding a full-time team next season, and the club's denied these allegations. I saw that comment from the club. Basically, they banded the women's side alongside the men's side in saying that there are a number of players in both sides that are not under contract for next season. And this is because neither the men's or the women's side have secured their status in their respective divisions for next season. And what they don't want to do at this point, if they think there's a possibility of going down, is hand out big contracts to be left in a lot of financial problem next season, which, okay, is kind of, it's acceptable in the men's game because there'll still be a core squad there and there'll still be the academy, but is it a little nervy at this point to say you've only got 3 players on the books for next season with all this discontent and the fact that they all of the players that aren't contracted might have already said, yeah, we're out of here. So you're then starting pre-season with 3 players and having to sign, in effect, a whole squad. It's not ideal, is it? I mean, the squad's already on a shoestring thread as it is, and we found that against Tottenham, as it's now been reported, we couldn't even fulfil that fixture, so we had to sacrifice the 3 points, which, when we're only 3 points above the relegation zone and 1 or 2 of the teams below us have got a game in hand on us, at this point almost looks like it could be suicidal. It really does. That was in January. that happened. The club have said there's no plans not to be competing in WSL next season, and the team are fully focused on doing what is required to keep Birmingham City in the WSL. I'd say that was a no-brainer, and that's kind of stating the obvious, because recently the news has been announced that Sky Sports and BBC have took over the WSL rights for next season, and that's going to be worth multi-million pounds amount of money, and 75% of it will be going back into the WSL and 25% into the Women's Championship. So to say that there's no plans not to be in the WSL when you know that there's multi-million pound deals coming into the WSL is kind of stating the obvious. The owners are money driven. They want to be at that money party. What they don't realise is at the moment the way the women's team are unhappy and in a state of discontent and ran poorly, they're at real risk of not being at that party, so they really need to pull their fingers out and get the girls over the line to secure safety, to make sure we're at that money party next season. This afternoon, the Blues Trust, the Supporters Trust, has put an article out, and I'm going to read kind of through some of it. So, there's a bit about, the FA, side note, the FA are now investigating whether we breached compliance rules of the WSL, and that could lead to a point deduction or a relegation from the division, an exclusion from the division, I think are the words they use. So that's not great. Here we are. The letter also raised allegations that some of the coaching staff weren't full-time employees, something that the FA is now investigating, as if true, it will contravene WSL licence rules, and that some employees earning less than minimum wage. The players insisted that they had numerous approaches to speak with the board, rejected, blah blah. Okay, so this is a bit that interests me from the Blues Trust article. Prior to the TTA takeover, successful businessman Tim Andrews was the CEO of the Birmingham women's team, but left shortly after the takeover as the owners started installing their own appointments. The difficulties really seemed to start for the women's team around the beginning of 2019. At the end of 2018, Edward Zanganan was appointed as the sole director of the women's team, replacing Joanne Alsop, although it is believed that Rendong is the driving force behind how the team is now run. Like the men's side, he's behind it all. In 2019, the popular and successful coach Mark Skinner left to coach Orlando Pride in the US and was replaced by Marta Tegor. Tegor was allegedly appointed by, guess who, Rendong, against, and this is the interesting bit because this has also been raised in the men's game with the Karanka appointment, against the advice of his staff. So Ren's are one of his own. The staff are saying, this is what we think we should do. This is who we think we should appoint every time. And Ren's going, no, this is who I'm having. Overwriting you all. Bang. My decision. Okay. Summer 2019 saw 11 players leave the club. And behind the scenes, like the men's team, backroom staff were also leaving. The club narrowly avoided relegation in 2019-2020 season on points per game basis in the COVID curtailed season, after just 2 wins in 13 games. This saw Tegor leave her job after 14 months in charge. We don't know whether she was sacked or whether she left. Summer 2020 saw yet more turmoil on the playing front, with a further 11 players leaving. Carla Ward joined as team manager in August with a squad of only 8 senior players registered, and seems to have performed nothing short of a minor miracle to build the squad up, instill a strong squad spirit that has given the team a chance of staying up in WSL with 4 games to go, although they are 3 points ahead of the bottom team, who happen to be Villa, who have played 1 more game. So, and we've played 1 more game, so they've got a game in hand on us. On a side note, let me just come back to Carla Ward. As I said earlier, we were written off at the start of the season. We had 8 players. She has done nothing short of miracles. And especially now when you hear about all this I'm going to be frank, crap behind the scenes and the below par standards the girls have had to put up with, I can't fault one performance this season. The girls have gone out there week in, week out, and Carla has got that out of them despite all the circus behind the scenes. And for that is commendable, and for me makes her contendable for any manager in the season award. Okay, so now we come back to the article. Looking at the accounts for the women's team, the last ones available are the 18-19 season, which is the same for the men's side as well. They showed that the costs of running the team in 2018 and 2019 were around £1 million per annum, with the team posting a profit after transfer trading of £60,000. In 2000 and of 60,000, sorry, yeah. In 2018, and a loss of so there was a profit of 60,000 in 2018 and a loss of 90,000 in 2019. The main income came from sponsorship and FA funding, with gate receipts and commercial income accounting for about 12% of the total revenue. The team appeared not to have any debt at the end of 2019, although it did have a small amount of negative equity. Clearly, COVID will have had an impact, but the numbers involved in maintaining the team at a reasonable level seem small in comparison to the men's games. So where's the issue? The sums seem to add up, given that it costs less to run the women's team. So where's the issue? If proven correct, some of the issues raised in the letter border on negligence. Sadly, the level of stewardship of the women's team shown by the board is no better than shown to the men's team, and suggests that the problems with the board don't just begin and end with Rendong. Okay? Apparently this is above even his egotistical head. So, the Blues women deserve much better. It's time for Zhao Wenjing, the BSA chair, to step up now and install a competent CEO for both the men and women's sides and show the women's team some proper support. More widely, there is also a message here for the FA to govern the women's game better. They could start that by ensuring that monies for the newly announced WSL TV deal are spread evenly across all the participating clubs to try and promote a greater competition, rather than turning the women's game into a carbon copy of the Premier League with rewards extensively concentrated on the top 3 clubs. When you are on notice whilst the CEO that you will remain... Okay, this is the board's trust now. They will say, whilst you remain CEO, you will be held responsible by the fans of the women's team for sorting this situation, investing appropriately, and securing the full-time future of a properly supported women's team before the summer. Equally, the fans are looking for Zhao Wing to install improved long-term leadership at the club for both the men's and women's teams as soon as possible. Okay, so what can we conclude from that? Well, we can conclude that the women's side is being ran just as inadequately as the men's side, albeit it's evidently more problematic within the women's side at the moment, with the training and the medical facilities, clearly as outlined in this letter. how do I propose we solve this problem? Well, the big money's coming into the WSL next season, and hopefully, as the Blues Board Trust said, hopefully that will be spread evenly throughout the division so that every club will get well financed and well backed. And in theory, that should make things a lot easier to remedy the problems that the ladies squad have cited at the moment. But it's not going to be any good if we end up getting relegated this season um, and missing out on that money party. So how do we avoid that? Well, ultimately it is and it isn't in our hands. It depends what results we get. It depends on what happens in that game in hand against us by the other side. But I would propose for now, we're looking at the final 4 games in the WSL season. That's where we're at. The girls are currently on an international break for a week or so. My proposal would be give them shared use of the men's facilities for the final 4 games. Medical, training, facilities. Pump some money in to get them hotels for the last few games. In this next week, do something in terms of squad and board bonding. Give them some money to have some sort of team bonding activity, like some sort of light-heartedness, or something like a paintballing activity or something, just to get the morale up, to kind of show the girls that we care about them. Maybe a socially bubbled meal at the training complex where everyone's safe. Maybe everyone's safe up there in the bubble, so lay on a massive takeaway dining thing and just kind of try and do something just to instill a bit of good feeling back in and say, look, we acknowledge the issues, we're sorry, please accept our apologies. You can use the men's facilities for your last 4 games. Let's get you over the line. Next season, once the money comes in from Sky, we'll improve this. We'll get some provisional contracts in place, which will be activated upon survival to the division. That means that everyone knows there'll be a squad there, and some sort of letter from the top saying this is our vision for pre-season. Should we survive, this is what you can expect. And yeah, let's do all we can to get the club over the line and get them at the Sky and BBC money party that's coming. Let's ensure this happens. Let's make this happen. And I would argue that possibly part of the long-term vision for the club would include finding an alternative home in Damson Lane. It's a great club, Solihull Moors, and it's served them well over the years, but the pitch there in the winter months, unfortunately, is inadequate, and it's seen a lot of fixture postponements. And I can only imagine that with WSL fixtures and Solihull Moors men's fixtures, there must be some sort of discontent with Solihull Moors in letting the women use the facilities as much as they'll benefit from the finances from it, because that pitch just doesn't hold up. So yeah, a lot of work needs to be done behind the scenes, and I'm just hoping it can get done and the club does stay up and we can be at that Sky and BBC money party and we can reap the benefits of that. He's hoping massively. I'm going to attach a few of my photos I've took of the Birmingham City women this season on the end of the video. Keep right on, keep the faith, and girls, we're behind you. We are behind you, girls. Keep right on, joys and sorrows. Let's be in the WSL at that big money party next year. Come on, the Blues.